Yo, what's up? I'm Jordan Lippo. I don't really know, I'm not that famous or well known on PS3, but I was sort of around the time when the best game in my opinion was out and the leaderboards weren't hacked. This is a pretty famous picture. This is all the number ones of CoD4 before it was hacked. So you sort of got the first generation over here. So you got Socrack. He's the sort of first, I think the very first number one was a guy called 6 Feet Under XEX, but Socrack was the one who really sort of held the number one spot. Then Electric Storm. Now there's a famous picture with Electric Storm number one. From what I can remember, I don't think it was number one for that long, but it was number one a few times as he had a battle with Socrack quite a bit. And then Rampage came along and all three of them sort of had battles, and there was a lot of sort of stuff about Socrack getting paid to take over the number one spot. I think there's a few interviews with him on YouTube about that. Yeah, and then Rampage, he's the sort of, a lot of people remember this name. He's the sort of first number one to sort of hold the spot for a long time and really make it famous. I played him a few times, he's a good player. Yeah, he held it, I think these three had a battle from November 2007 till about February 08, and then Rampage took over and he was number one till about April and May, I think, so he held it for a good few months. Then came the second generation, so his Urpazeta. Now Urpazeta was number one for a long time when he overtook Rampage. He was number one from about April, May till about just before World at War came out, and this was sort of like, he was the sort of first number one to sort of have, you know, gameplay videos on YouTube of people recording him and people taking pictures of the leaderboards and things like that, and boosting sort of, you know, the term came about and people sort of thought he was boosting because of his days. I think still to this day no one really is, you know, no one could be completely sort of sure whether someone boosted unless there's solid evidence. But a lot of people thought Urpazeta boosted. You know, is frowned upon, and that's when the sort of hero TNJ 08 came along, because everyone knew he was legit because of his days, and you know, everyone thought he played solo, and you know, he was just sort of like stuck his fingers up to everyone and said, you know, I can get number one by doing it my way. And you know, a lot of people like him, and some people say he's the best number one ever. Out of all the top players, he's the only one I haven't played with. But yeah, he does sound pretty good. There was a big battle of whether TNJ would get number one before World at War came out. I think he did it about 2 or 3 days before, so he just got in there. Then it sort of took a downturn and Mukwa came along. He's a good player. I play with him a lot. He knows how to get the score. You know, he abuses the game from getting host and just taking the bomb. But you know, people say he boosted. I'm pretty sure he did boost. I think there was a few videos on YouTube, but there's no doubt that, you know, he did get a lot of score from playing S&D. If anyone plays with him, you know how he can just abuse the score system. He was number one from about January, February of 09, I think. Not for very long, I don't think, and Mukavoy came along. Mukavoy, good player. I think he boosted. I think everyone boosted around this time, to be honest. You know, it's pretty like, I don't know, just sort of something to do, wasn't it, just to get to number one. But these two are frowned upon. I mean, they're legends, but you know, if you compare like these to, you know, sort of Rampage and TNJ, there's no doubt who's sort of liked more. Orion came along. He sort of, I think he was the first one to sort of like make a montage on YouTube and all that, and this is as the game was progressing a lot. Good player. I think he played in the party a lot. I think he played with like D50 Crazy and ICUP and all that. Yeah, good player. I think he got number one only for a few days. And then Giandor came along. I think everyone knows Giandor from his videos on YouTube. Sort of got number one a bit of a noob, but you know, he's done it how he wanted to do it. My opinion sort of epitomises what Call of Duty 4 was all about. It was just sort of all about the leaderboards, and it doesn't matter how you sort of did it, as long as you did it legit and you just did it your way. And he's sort of the last number one that everyone sort of knows about, sort of a legend. He was number one for a month or two, and then the hackers came along and ruined the game. People still sort of play Call of Duty 4, like Gunner 9000 and Deathbringer and all that, and they're sort of keeping the game alive. But for me, Gunner was sort of the last number one. I don't really care about it anymore, to be honest. It's just too fucked. But these are the ones that are number ones before the hackers. I know I don't know everything, and you know, some people may call me a geek because I know it, but back in those days everyone was sort of interested in the leaderboards, and a lot of people who play now who the reason why I'm doing this is just to sort of tell you about it, what it was like, to be honest. And if you want to hear about any, I play with most of the players, and if you want to hear about any of them, I'll sort of tell you about them, to be honest. Yeah, thanks.